We call it a community. We don't call it like our audience or our customer base. Sometimes I'll use those words, but I don't mean to. The reason we call it a community is we're trying to establish not just a place where people can come buy stuff, but where people can come and get value. So like our people will talk to us and they'll ask questions. We'll reply back to them. We'll do giveaways throughout the month. We'll check in with them. We'll send them private messages. They'll send us messages saying they're looking for something and we'll find it for them. Then we'll tag them in it. So we really try to make it a community where it's not just a one-sided us telling them what to buy or about this, but it's a conversation back and forth where we're helping them and serving them. And like I said, one of our staff members specifically focuses on finding items for people that have requested it and then tagging them in those items.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Carl Buccellato. I have with me today a young man by the name of Jon Beebe, a wonderful young guy. He has all the values that I treasure in life. First of all, he counts himself first a husband, a father to 3 beautiful girls, and a man of faith. Those are wonderful things as far as I'm concerned. He's also an entrepreneur, a traveler. He loves to travel and follow his favorite football team around the country as they travel, the Buffalo Bills, which he will tell us about later, I'm sure. And he has a business that he shares with his wife to help people as they travel and in their everyday needs. It's called Bibi's Bargains and Bibi's Travel. And we'll learn much more about that later because that's a very interesting business, all on the internet. So, Jon, welcome to our show.
Well, hey, Carl, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And I appreciate that introduction there.
Well, as I was saying to you before we started the show, and I'll repeat it publicly, I think you're a fine young man. I really do.
Well, thank you. I think my favorite part about that is young.
Yeah, yes.
Because I just turned 40, so I like that you're still
please, I got
young.
shoes older than you. I've often told the story on the show, so I won't repeat it again. But just briefly, in 1978, I bought a pair of formal shoes in Switzerland, in Geneva, Switzerland. They were Ballys. I'm still wearing those shoes.
I have some footwear I'm wearing from when I was 16. So yeah,
Well,
so I'm with you.
You're gaining on me then. Okay.
I am.
Okay. So you and your wife run this wonderful business called Bibi's Bargains, and you have Bibi's Travel as well. And that is a company that provides access to people to purchase things at bargain rates, I'd imagine, online. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that business and how you got into it? Because I do know from your notes that you had 35 jobs over your lifetime. That's a lot of jobs for a man who's only 40 years old. And one of them was you have a theology degree and you were a pastor for 14 or 15 years. And now you're running this magnificent online business. How did this all come to be?
Well, I'll just give you a brief synopsis of it and then you can ask questions on that. But right now our business, like we said, is called Bibi's Bargains. And we also have Bibi Travel. Bibi Travel is our newest. That started a year ago. It started in June of 2022. I'll go back to Bibi's Bargains. Bibi's Bargains business started in October of 2018. And the mission of that business is to save people time and money so they can engage more with those they love. And those they love and the things they love. So it's really to open up, to open up resources, whether that be financial or time resources to families. So that way they can just enjoy life better and have extras in their life that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise.
So what kind of things could they buy through you?
So Bibi's Bargains, we're an affiliate marketing company. So we don't actually sell the products, but we just promote products from all different retailers. So our audience, our community that we have doesn't pay us anything to provide these links for them. We find these links, we put them online on we have a mobile app. We also have our Facebook community right now that has over 63,000 in it. Wow. And we have our website and a number of different things that we post these onto. So they can buy anything from anything from laundry detergent to a TV for their house, to furniture for their backyard, to travel products, pretty much anything you want for the home that you can buy.
You're an Amazon and a Walmart linked together.
Yeah, we've established relationships with over 100 major retailers. And right now we're Right now, we're currently in a contract with Under Armour. We've been working really close with them. They appreciate us, and we help them. They help us, and we help our community. We're with Walmart. We're with Target, like Children's Place, Best Buy, pretty much you name it.
Uh-huh.
Amazon, obviously. We've
Uh-huh.
established relationships with them, and we've been having these relationships for many years now, and they appreciate us, and we do as best work we can. And then what happens is our community clicks on the links. They go buy a product from there. When they buy a product from there, that tells Amazon, Walmart, whoever, that they bought the product from us or that we sent them there. Then every month we get a check from these different companies for promoting that. So our community doesn't pay us. It's really just we're like the in between. We're almost like the
Right.
advertiser for them.
You get an introduction fee.
Yeah, yep, that's what we do.
You're a dating service.
Yes. And all of our products, here's if you want to say our niche with our products is if we're going to post a product, we want it to be a really good deal. And we want it to have great ratings and from a store that is reputable. So when people buy from us, they know, hey, John and Lauren and their team, they have already vetted these products. They've already checked it out, made sure that it's not marked up to be marked down to only look like it's a deal. So we vet all of that and then we post it on our sites. And so that way they don't have to do that. And we take care of that for them.
That's
So
wonderful.
we serve them
And
in that way.
and I imagine since you're a man who's been in the church for many years, there are probably groups in that 63,000 that are putting together buying groups for their charities or for their individual church needs. And they work through you and they benefit themselves and they get better prices. And that's good. That serves the
Yep.
community in a round robin. That's wonderful.
Throughout our lifetime, we've actually had the opportunity of our business. We've actually had the opportunity to work with a few charities and help them create Amazon wish lists and really push our people to purchase for them and help them during certain seasons. So we do that on occasion, depending how that works. So we've also found through our community, we call it a community. We don't call that it like our audience or our customer base. Sometimes I'll use those words, but I don't mean to. The reason we call it a community is we're trying to establish not just a place where people can come buy stuff, but where people can come and get value. So like our people will talk to us and they'll ask questions, we'll reply back to them. We'll do giveaways throughout the month. We'll check in with them. We'll send them private messages. They'll send us messages saying they're looking for something and we'll find it for them. Then we'll tag them in it. So we really try to make it a community where it's not just a one-sided us telling them what to buy or about this, but it's a conversation back and forth where we're helping them and serving them. And like I said, one of our staff members specifically focuses on finding items for people that have requested it and then tagging them in those items. So
That's
that way
great.
they can find them for them. Yep.
It's great. So all of you out there that are watching this, if you're from Idaho or Timbuktu or wherever you are in the world, because you're on the internet, I'm sure some of you are thinking to yourself, I could use something like that. All of their information, how to contact John and his affiliates, will be in in the show notes. You'll know how to contact them, and whether online or through email or whatever the case may be. I'm sure John and his staff will be happy to contact, will respond to you and serve all your needs.
Yep. And
Great business connection.
if you email, it'll be me emailing back. So it won't be somebody else. You'll hear directly from me. So if
That's
there's
wonderful.
any, if there's any need you have or questions you have, if I can help you at all, just reach out.
And I'm sure there are millions of you out there who are just like John, who is, I label a Disney nut, one of those people who loves to go to Disney with his kids. I don't know
Yes.
for the kids or for themselves. Some of us are we never outgrow Disney. You know that.
Nope.
So that's a perfect connection for you because I'm sure 1 out of 3 of you this year will want to go to Disney somewhere. So John can give you great information on that as well.
Yeah, so
Travel.
I didn't tell you about the BB Travel, but what we do with BB Travel is we've kind of created a subgroup out of a sub community out of our BB's Bargains community and said, all right, we love traveling and we know a lot of other people do. And with our mission being, we want to save people time and money so they can engage more with those they love and the things they love. A great way to engage with your family, with your friends, a great way to engage with the world is through travel. And we find that very valuable in our family. And when it comes to travel, we said, hey, there's ways to do it and there's ways to do it well. I've always been asked in my life, friends will always ask me, hey, can you help me with this trip? Can you do this, that, and the other? And then after a while, they're like, why aren't you a travel agent? So I just decided to start BB Travel. And I started BB Travel as a travel agent. But what I quickly realized is being a travel agent, it's hard work. I commend everyone that does that. They are great people, and travel agents are much needed in this world. Even though people say, well, are travel agents like, are they kind of like a thing of the past? I think your brick and mortar ones are, but there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of travel agents around the world right now in the country that are working to help people
Right.
have the best travel possible. So
Right.
while I was a travel agent, I realized that I was starting to work too much in the business and not on the business. And like, for instance, I was too focused on maybe where somebody was eating at Epcot next week rather than focusing on how are all of our businesses serving our community the best
Right.
possible way. So
Right.
what I did is I decided to step away from being a travel agent just a few months ago. And now I just consider myself a travel specialist. And I partner with travel agents. And when people want travel agent services, they can get them through us. They can request that through our website, and we connect them with a trusted travel agent that is focusing solely on that. And that way they can serve them with the travel agent services. But now what we also provide for BB Travel, as I've been able to do this now, is we're starting to provide links where people can some people just want to book on their own, and that's okay too. So
Yeah.
if people
True.
want to book on their own, we're
True.
finding different links for different cruises, what they're looking for,
True.
hotels. And then we're also providing content that helps them know how to travel better. Really helping them provide the opportunity. Like we say, our community on Facebook with BB Travel is we want to show people, we want to inspire people to travel, and we want to show them that they do have the time and money to make it happen. And when I
Right.
say that is if you don't have a lot of money, there's travel you can do that doesn't involve a lot of money. And if you don't have a lot of time, there's travel that you can do that you don't when you don't have a lot of time. Like for instance, my family and I last month for my 40th, we went to Disney. We left Saturday morning and we got home Monday night. Literally 2 days. We were able to do 3 parks. We were able to have a time at the pool. We were able to go to Disney Springs and have a nice dinner. And we didn't feel rushed. We didn't feel like we were running with our like chickens with our heads cut off, but we only had 2.5 days and we made
Yeah.
it work. So
And
never,
that's of course focusing on Disney, but we live in a great country where wherever you live, just a short drive away from a national park or some
yep.
outdoor location that you can go with your family, maybe camp out or go fishing or do those kinds of things that are right there for all of us. And so many of us just don't know that it's so easy to do.
Even just the local neighborhood pool for the day, or if you're going to the park, picking up a pizza and going to the park, because really
Yeah.
travel is about engaging with those you love. And you can
Right.
do that on a day trip someplace.
And you had a lot of experience organizing that because for 14 years you were a youth pastor, weren't you? And you
Yes,
had all
sir.
those chicks you had to gather together and take and make sure you had the same count coming home that you had going out.
That's absolutely correct. Being a youth pastor was one of the greatest joys I had. I was so grateful for that season of my life. I loved being able to do that and help students because students in middle school and high school, those are some of the toughest years maybe in someone's life trying to figure out who they're trying to be. And if I was able to guide them a little bit, I was grateful for that.
Yeah. We have a world that needs people to guide younger people.
Yes,
We
sir.
certainly need it these days. I know that you're a advisor and a consultant as well. You consult people on their entrepreneurial things and the kind of business deals that they do, but you also are willing to share your faith and you're willing to counsel people on personal needs. I understand that you have some experience with as a youth with being abused, and you understand what it means to these children to go through these things, and you're willing to give a helping hand and embrace them when they need it.
Yes, sir. Through my life, I'm actually right now. I'm talking with a pastor that reached out to me in the last few weeks. He's like, "Hey, I need some advice. Would you be able to help me?" He said, "I don't know if you remember me," and I'm like, "I remember you. I met you. We followed each other on Facebook." And he reached out. We set up a Zoom. We talked, and now we're connecting every month, just trying to help him and guide him with some of the questions he have and things he's working on with his life. But in my life, I struggled emotional abuse when I was younger, at the hands of loved ones of mine that were my family, and it wasn't the easiest, and it was very difficult. After I finally got older and realized what I went through about a multiple months of extensive counseling to when I say overcome it, maybe just to say how can I pass through that and not be upset, not be bitter, not be,
Yeah.
to forgive. Forgiveness is very important in that case. And forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. And some people believe they tie the two together and sometimes it doesn't. And at the end of the day, I just want to be the best person I can be. And when I look back on everything I went through, I wish everybody in my life the best. I don't wish harm to anybody. I think it was a stepping stone when I got to that place where I can say that and believe and really, really, truly mean that.
It's the kind of memories that stay with you, and they either, if you get help, you become a better person for it because you learn how to forgive, even if, and to forget, even if you don't reconcile. And sometimes you don't, you can't, it's impossible.
Well,
But
I think reconciliation is also dependent on going back into a relationship that is if you're going back if you choose to go back into a relationship and it continues the same maybe abuse or
yeah,
manipulation or whatever you want to call it
yeah,
continues to happen, it's not healthy for you. And it's
no,
almost like you're setting up you start to set up a pattern. And especially when you have kids
no.
like that, if my kids are watching me, if I set up a pattern where I keep letting people do something to me that's destructive and not good and hurtful
Teaching
to
them
our
to be
family.
doormats. That's right.
Yeah. And
That's right.
I can't do that, and as much as I want every relationship to work out great, and I would love to fix all of it, I'm I can only control me, and and if who's listening to this, you can only control you. So focus on what you've done wrong, focus on how you can help yourself and become the better person,
Right.
but that doesn't always mean you have to go back, and that doesn't mean you have to be hurtful and judgmental to those people maybe that hurt you.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is more for you than the other person. And I'll tell you that some of the people that have hurt me, they've said, they always say, I hope someday you'll forgive me. Or they'll get mad and they'll send me text messages and say, I hope you'll forgive me. Or they'll say, you should forgive because God says you need to forgive. And
Uh,
and you know what I say in my head? I say, they're not in control. Like they think because there's no reconciliation that there's no forgiveness. And what I say is they're not in control if I forgive them or not. I'm in control of the forgiveness.
Also, John, reconciliation requires repentance. If a person is abusing another person and they say, forgive me, but they're not repentant, they're doomed to do it again. And if you allow them the opportunity to hurt you again, you're not only denying yourself security and safety, you're enabling them in their own illness. So there comes a time you have to have a solid line. And if someone is repentant, certainly open hand. If they're not, they've got work to do before you allow yourself to be exposed again. I think
Yeah.
that's very important. You know,
Yep. You're absolutely correct, Carl.
I understand those things.
And again, I just want to make this clear. I don't wish any harm to any of those people. I love them from a distance and I don't wish any harm. And it saddens me that it's the situation that it's in. But
yeah,
I'll tell you, since I started, like you said, put a line in the sand, since I've done that, my life and my family life, it has been able to grow. My professional life has been able to grow leaps and bounds. But it took me drawing that line in the sand. And as
right.
hard as it was to do that, it was the best move for me.
Yeah, I do understand those things. I've got some issues like that with certain family members myself.
Yeah.
But I also have a little experience because I spent years in rooms that's called ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. So
Okay.
I understand. And I applaud you for being wise enough to know what you need to do for your own safety and recovery and fulfillment as an individual, because you are a living example to your children every day of your life. What they see, they will emulate, whether you realize they're looking that intently or not, they will emulate. And so you have to be willing to take the stand to be what we were always told. God doesn't make junk. Well, if he didn't make me junk, nobody else is going to make me junk. You know, I'm
That's
going to
right.
tend to be the whole of what God intended me to be, a whole person. So I applaud you for that. And you do some coaching and for emotional things of that kind. I know that. And you're a man of faith. And that's clear to me. And, it takes more than a theology degree and a pastorate title to be a person of faith. You have to live your faith and walk it on a daily basis.
Yeah,
And
Jesus plays a crucial role in everything our family does.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you got to be willing to speak it out. You meet people along the way and they need sometimes they need just a tip of a comment and they explode with what they need. They let you know more than you really wanted to hear in the first place. But sometimes you say to somebody just something, like, God bless you today. And before you know it, they're telling you how much they need. And
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I haven't thought about this story in a while, but it's real simple. I was walking out of a post office one day and this with my kids and my wife. I think at that point we had two daughters, or no, we had one at that point, one daughter and my wife. And we were walking out of the post office. And as we're walking out of the post office, this gentleman's walking in and he says hello. I say hello. And he says, it was just a brief little passing. And he says, have a great day. I said, you too. And I don't say this that often, not because I choose not to. It's just not part of something I say. Sometimes it's culturally. I looked at him and I just said, you too, sir. And I said, God bless you. And I took like two steps and then he turns and he says, I knew it. And I was like, what? I was like, excuse me, what? And he said, I knew it. He said, I knew there was something different about you just by the way you and your family walked out the door and you greeted me. And he said, I knew there was something different. And he said, that really encouraged me. He said, thanks for living out your faith. And I'm like, I was just walking out the door with my family and
yeah,
he noticed something.
I said a moment ago, you live an example every day of your life and your children see it. Well, others see it also.
Yeah.
They really do. My wife and I were on a cruise a while ago, and we were sitting at the martini bar of all places.
Were you having a good martini?
I don't drink, but she enjoyed it.
My wife likes a good martini.
She likes a good martini. I don't drink because it goes to my head. I'm a weakling when it comes to alcohol. But this couple was sitting at the bar, and the big guy, 6'3", and his wife and my wife were chatting, and he kept looking at me and looking at me, and I said, I hope you're having a good trip. He says, I have something for you.
Hmm.
And he took this. See that coin?
Mm-hmm.
That is the shield of faith.
Hmm.
Ephesians 6:11 through 18. The helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the shoes of the gospel, the shield of faith, and the double-edged sword.
Hmm.
He handed it to me out of his pocket. He says, I give this to people that I know are people of faith, and I don't know how I know, but I know.
Wow.
And he gave
Isn't that awesome?
It's so awesome that I was so taken by it. We bought hundreds of these coins, and I give them out to people that I meet because I know the same thing happens with me. Somebody needs this coin. And I could be walking through a group of people, and 4 or 5 of them just pass by, and I think nothing of, but one of them stands out, and I stop and I hand them the coin. Inevitably get in the conversation. But
That's
it's
awesome.
little things like that, that are important. It's almost as good as wearing a Bills cap.
Hey, Carl, when I wear this Bills cap, I've built so many friendships and had so many conversations with people. Most of the time I wear it because I'm like, who am I going to meet that's going to talk to me? And I have close friends that the only reason we're friends is because they saw me out with this on. And it's crazy. On my Facebook, I put something up a couple months ago or like a month ago saying, hey, how did we meet? And someone's like, I was at a Bills game in Kansas City and you walked into the hotel restaurant by yourself and you talked to us and you ended up sitting down and eating lunch with us. And then we hung out the whole day together. And my wife thinks I'm crazy because I'll go anywhere by myself. And by the time if I go by myself, I end up coming home with new friends. And she's just like, who are you going to meet on this trip?
That's a wonderful gift.
And I think friendships are very important. So
I agree with him.
I think what I went through as a kid and into my adulthood, it followed with me until I realized what I was going through. I think when people go through things like I went through, they kind of do one or two things. Either they take the people they meet and they hold them at an arm's length because they don't want to get hurt and they're scared again to get hurt. And because of that, I think it prevents them from having some great relationships but because they're so scared to get hurt. Or they do the second thing is what they do is they embrace when they see people, they embrace them in. And usually they end up being pretty good. What I found is they end up being pretty good judges of character of these good people. And they bring those good people into their life and they hold on to them and they don't let them go. And they become these friends that have become family to them. And we have friends in our life that have become family. And I have some friends that I met because I was wearing a ball cap that just become good friends. So I don't have many acquaintances. I have a lot of friends, best friends, friends that are family. I call a lot of people friend, and I think the word friend is very important. Jesus says that he considers us a friend.
I called you friend, right?
Yeah, he calls us friend. So I want to call as many people as I can friend. because that's what Jesus calls us.
I agree with you. I certainly do. So you have three adorable daughters at almost teenage years. Is that right? Or one is just about
Our
to.
oldest just turned 13 a few months back.
Uh-huh. So now you're going to have sleepless nights coming up. Okay.
We're already having those, Carl.
So you have three. And what are the names and ages?
Ava is 13, Juliana is 11, and London is 7.
Nice.
So we have 7th grade, 5th grade, and 1st grade. They're just getting to finish. They're finishing up that school year right now.
You are blessed. You are blessed.
Yes, sir. Very much. You said that. You said that correctly.
I know.
And obviously, my wife Lauren, um, she is my rock here on earth. I mean, obviously we have Jesus, but she's been amazing. She's helped me through so much. And what I love about marriage is you get a partner, someone who is going to walk with you through life. And the scripture talks about being equally yoked. And really what that means is I believe it means finding somebody on the same path that you're on,
Yeah.
finding somebody at the same, I think also finding somebody on the same mile marker of the path that you're on.
Yeah.
Because when we met, we were in one place. And what's interesting is the way our faith journey has grew and just our maturity level and just our beliefs and how they've grown. It's interesting to see how we've grown together. And we both grew up in a very legalistic style church, rule-based church, where if anybody else looks different, sounds different, has different music, has a different time for their service of church, they're outside of God's will.
Yeah.
And, her and I, we both believed that way too when we started. And what's great is God has given us grace and allowed us to grow through that and opened up a world of where we realize that God's grace and God's love, and there's so many more people doing God's will around the world that we ever thought. And, we've grown together. And I love growing and doing life with Lauren. She's the best.
Again, I'm going to repeat, you're blessed.
Yes, sir.
You're living out what my wife and I call a covenant vow. It's when you join together in matrimony with Jesus at the center. It's a 3-pronged rope that's twisted together that can't be broken. So many people run through life and they have all these difficulties that come with lack of money or problems with family or children or job or relocation. And it's difficult for them to weather through it because they don't have that cement bond. They don't have that Christ-centered relationship that can carry you through anything. And I mean anything. We've been through just about all of it, and I too am blessed because this is May, 12 years ago, a few weeks ago, in April, I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, 1/2-inch bleeder on the left side of my brain. And the doctors told my wife I wouldn't make it through the night. And she said, "Oh no." And here I am.
He's not getting out that easy.
There I
I
am.
still need him.
There I
Aw.
am.
Well, and here you are, as I've listened to some of your episodes I know, you're later in life, you've had a lot of accomplishments and I commend you for that. And God has blessed you. And, I look at you and say, what a blessing that you're still doing things to help and serve people. And, I believe I'm correct in saying the reason you launched your podcast was not at all for monetarily gain, but was
no.
more to serve.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and God's still continuing to allow you to serve others. And, I commend you for that. So there was a wise man that I worked under in your episodes, you talk about people you meet along the way, along life's journey.
Right.
And, a gentleman I worked under, he since went, passed on to be with God, to be with the Lord. And, just within the last couple of years, but it was a pastor that he took a chance on me. He hired me. His name was Al Cockrell. He hired me up in Buffalo, New York to work for him. And I was a young pastor who had only worked for a short time. And, through some transitions at a church I was at, I got let go from there. And, that church was going through a number of transitions. And then I was looking for a job and he took a chance on me as somebody who didn't have much experience, was someone who was looking to come out of that conservative circle, but most of my what's it called? My education and my experience was in that circle. So he helped me, he took a chance on me, and he one of the things he told me, Al Cockrell told me this. He says, "You'll be the same person next year, except for the people you meet and the books you read." And
It's true.
I think I've modified that a little bit
True.
because he was quite a bit older than me, and I'm sure older than you. So I kind of modified that quote, and I say you'll be the same person next year, except for the people you meet and the media you ingest. Because whether it be a book, whether it be a podcast,
Yeah.
and I believe your podcast here, what you're doing, is helping people meet people through media, and you're helping people be a better person next year. So what Al told me, what Al taught me about Pastor Al is I believe that that's what you're doing with your podcast. So I commend you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
It was my belief from the beginning. God has blessed me with my corporate ventures and my travels. And uh, I retired 3 times. The last time was the final time because it was time. But I retired and I'm now 81 years old. And I wrote that book that's on there about my life with the idea of helping and hoping that some people might find an answer to their own questions in it. And it has happened. I've had many, many people contact me telling me how the book was their story and how they lived through similar things and how they found answers to things that were left unanswered until they read the book. And the answer, of course, is Jesus. Throughout the whole thing, it's very clear. Whatever you're battling in life, he's there. And so my determination was never to gain a penny from that book. Everything that came from it goes out to charities and things. And it pays for this podcast, frankly, because I won't take any sponsorship for it. And I have friends who Mike, who produces this show for me. And
Yep.
he's entitled to his fare because he does a great job. But it's not for profit for me. It's never been for profit for me. And my profit is when I hear somebody call back to me and say, they found a peaceful resolution to something, or God is really present with them, or they've come upon an issue with their children that they could resolve. That's my profit.
Yes.
I don't look for anything else. That's my profit.
Well, when
And
you realize in life, when you get to a place where you have, and you don't really have many have-nots,
yeah,
you realize that life isn't about the money. Um,
yeah,
money helps our life, and
yeah,
obviously we need it. It's a crucial part.
necessary, of course.
People that say you don't need money, they're lying. You need money, like you do.
Absolutely.
But you don't need it to be the focus of your life. And as long as you're able to do and live, um, that's what that's all that matters. And that's where you are now. So that's why you're like, I don't need to gain money from this. I just want to serve people. And
Yeah,
that's a place we love to be.
yeah. I love that. I love that part of my life. And I've been, I was born and raised, I'm Italian from Brooklyn. So obviously I was born and raised a Catholic,
Yeah.
pray, pay, and obey. And I lived through that whole series, but I'd been a tither all my life.
Yeah.
Even while I was a Catholic, I was always a tither. I believed in tithing. And it certainly didn't change when I joined a non-denominational church. And we go to Calvary Chapel in Boca Raton, and
Oh, great.
it's a great, great environment with great people doing wonderful work to serve others.
We saw my wife and I went and saw the movie about the start of the church, the
Oh
Jesus
yeah.
Revolution,
Oh
a
yeah.
few weeks back. We really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. Yeah.
Greg
Calvary
Long,
Chapel's
right.
Calvary Chapel's doing great work in the world.
It certainly is. And I'm happy to be part of it and honored to be part of it. So we're running about close to where we have to go. I'm going to give you an opportunity to say anything you want to the folks. Folks, I want to remind you, all of his information will be in the show notes. Contact him. Reach out. He's got a lot to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you guys, I'm going to say if they have questions about affiliate marketing, anything like that, anything we do, I'd be willing to, connect with them and encourage them and, help them in whatever their ventures are if I can. But If I had to say something, I would say, I would encourage everyone to look at your life. And the mission of my life is similar to our business's mission, and it's to live and work in a way that allows me to engage more with those I love and the things I love. And I believe if I'm able to engage more with those I love and the things I love, my life will be um, more profitable to all of those around me. It will be more profitable to me. It will be more, and then because of that, some people say, "Well, don't focus on yourself. If you're not getting fulfilled yourself, you don't have anything to pour out to other people. So
Right.
you do have to care for yourself." So I would encourage everybody, write a list. Write a list of 4 to 5 people. Who are the 4 or 5 people that you love? Like that would be on the top of the list. Maybe make it 10, whatever you want. Then write a list of the 5 to 10 things you love to do. And if there's only 3 or 4, that's fine too. But just write a list of the things that you love to do. And then ask yourself, if I was able to engage more with these people, and if I was able to engage more with these things, what would that do for my life? How much better could my life be? And a lot of the times, if those out here that lead businesses, that work in the corporate world, maybe your leaders and your CEOs, you got to ask the question: Is do those things make the list? Because if those things aren't on the list, and you're like, "Well, I got to work harder, work harder, work harder," and you're not spending more time doing the things you love or with the people you love, what's the point of it? What's the point of it? Because you're going to get to your end of your life and hope you can do it at that point.
Hmm.
But at that point, my daughters are going to be grown up. At that point, my wife and I were going to be further down the road, and we may have drifted further apart. At that point, my friends may have went down another path, and while we're still friends and we care about each other, we may not have much in common anymore. So taking time to do that is very, very important. That's part of the reason I stepped away from ministry, was because I was burning myself out helping run a business for my wife, easing her anxiety because she was so stressed because she started a hobby that turned into a big business, and helping people. And I decided to help ease her anxiety. I would pour more into the business so that way I can relieve her stress. And I was also a pastor, and pastor's job is not 9 to 5. It's 24/7. You're on call. So I was doing all of that, and I was burning myself out, and I realized I couldn't engage more with those I love and the things I love. And on top of people, obviously it's my relationship with God. And so I decided I had to step away and make a career change. I was 38 years, 37, 38 years old, and I had to make that career change. It was not easy. But you know what? I look back now and I say it was one of the best decisions I made in my life. I believe I'm closer to God because of it. I believe I'm closer to my family because of it. And I believe we're setting our family up for success in the best way possible because we're able to engage more with each other and the things we love. So that's my encouragement to everybody. And if I can help you in any way, do that in your work life, in your family, in what you like to do, I'd love to help you with that. So reach out.
How could I add to that? That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, John. I do appreciate that.
It's an
Ladies
honor
and
to be here,
gentlemen,
Carl.
thank you.
I said it's an honor to be here, Carl, and I appreciate you and even some of the wisdom you shared on this.
Thanks very much. I do appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you, we do a new show the first and third Wednesday of every month, and we bring wonderful guests on, like John, and hopefully we'll do it again, and we'll bring his wife on and see that pretty face. So we bring people who you can see and hear how life has changed and how they have been motivated and just inspired to change things, not only for themselves, but for their environment, their family, and the people they come in contact with every day. I remind you, you have your own story. I know you do. Everybody's got to know their own story, and no one can tell it like you can. Come forward. Let us know what your story is. Write it down. Share it with friends, neighbors, loved ones. Because if you don't do it, when it's too late, it's too late. It'll be gone. No one will benefit from that wisdom. Share the story. And I want to say something to add to John's list. John just gave you a great list. I'm going to tell you something to add to that list that I tell you every week. Very important. Love somebody today. Grab them in a big bear hug. Hold them close. Tell them how important they are to you. And tell them you love them. Those are the words of life. I love you. I love you, John. Have a great
love
day
you too.
today.
Love you too, Carl. Take care.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.